One of the most frequently asked questions on this channel in the comments section and also on my Instagram handle is that please let me know which is the best flying school in India. Well, in today's video, I'm going to be answering the golden question and I'll be telling you which is the best flying school in India. The video might get a little longer, but then bear with me. This is for your own good and trust me, this video is going to be much more detailed and informative. I have put in a lot of research behind this. So if you are ready, buckle up your seatbelts because we're ready for takeoff. Let's go! What's up, innovators, and welcome back to the FlyTuber, Flying Simplified through YouTube. My name is Elias and on this channel I talk about interesting aviation facts and aircraft knowledge, and sometimes also I talk about career guidance and advice, just like in today's video. So if you are new here, you might want to consider subscribing. Alright, so the best flying club in India is... Alright, thanks a lot everybody. Thanks a lot for joining in. I hope that you got information and value out of this video. Well, any such thing isn't gonna happen, right? Even if I would give you the name of a particular flying club, you wouldn't believe me just like that, and you would want me to give you the reasons why I picked the name of that flying club to be the best in India. And moreover, even if there was a flying club that I would give you the name of, then still there is no guarantee that that particular flying club would remain the best, right? 2 to 4 or 5 years down the line, the best flying club in India would change, just like your smartphone. Okay, this smartphone might be the best one right now, but 2 to 4 years down the line, this wouldn't be the best one. There might be another smartphone coming up with better features, for example, okay? And the third thing here is that the best differs from person to person, right? I personally am a hardcore Android and Samsung user. I love Samsung, at least for now. It might change. But there are some other person for whom Apple would be the best, right? He would be an avid iPhone user. So these are the reasons why what I decided is we will do it in a reverse fashion. First, I'll be letting you know the reasons and factors that you need to keep in head before you decide on a flying club and decide which is the best flying club for yourselves. And don't worry, in the end, I am for sure going to give you the name of the best flying club in India. Ruko jara, sabar karo. So make sure to watch the video till the end. Just a very quick disclaimers here that any flying club name that I'm going to take here isn't actually sponsored. No flying club is sponsoring me to make this video. It's only my personal intake on this. And then another thing is that the best flying club might change in the future, right? So please don't stand me responsible for any decisions that you take in your career. This is just my intake. What I advise you instead is just follow the guidelines and the different factors that I'm telling here, and then decide the best flying club for yourself. Okay. Another thing here is that I'll be attaching the list of all the flying clubs registered in India down in the description. So make sure to check that out. There are about 32 flying clubs in India as of date. And yeah, follow the framework and you can, it's best that you decide the best flying club for yourself. Okay, let's jump into the different reasons and different factors that define the best flying club in any country for that matter. Okay, so one of the most important factors about a flying club is the duration in which you'll be completing your flying training. Okay, you would want to complete your flying training as fast as possible because there's a lot of gap between two sorties. Okay, sortie is basically a training flight. If there's a lot of gap between two training flights, then you will be forgetting what you had learned in the previous sortie, which will in turn result in very slow progress in your skill set and learning of your flying training. Okay, now how do you know that which flying club can get your flying done faster? So there are two terms for that. One is student to aircraft ratio and another is student to instructor ratio. Okay, student to aircraft ratio is simply very easy, number of students to the number of aircrafts. Okay, if there are 100 students in a flying club and there are 10 aircrafts available, so there is 10 students per aircraft, and student to instructor ratio is very similar to that. Okay, one important thing here is that you should be considering the number of operative aircrafts. Okay, there are certain flying clubs which have a lot of aircrafts parked in their hangars. Okay, and when you go for admission, they'll be showing you around. Okay, we have lots of aircraft, but in reality not all of them will be operative. So you would want to know which are operative aircraft and consider only those towards your student to aircraft ratio. So if there are a lot of students and less number of aircraft, then obviously your flying training will be very slow, and that is not what you would want. Alright, so the number 2 important factor here is, for many of you guys, I know that flying training is very expensive. So the number 2 factor is the cost. Okay, how much the flying school is charging for their services and for the entire package of your flying training. Okay, usually the government flying clubs are cheaper than the other flying clubs. That is in most cases that's how it goes. But then you do your own research and find the best flying school, the cheapest flying school that you can. And also at this point, I'd like to let you know I had made a separate video on how you can possibly bring down the costs of your flying training. I'll link that video up here and also down in the description. Make sure to watch that video out. Well, another important thing I'd like to let you know here is that there is a flying club, Bihar Flying Club, okay, which is a government flying club which offers its flying training for very cost effective and very cheap. Flying training is available over there. But a catch here is that not many people know this. People do know that Bihar Flying Club gets your entire pilot training done in as less as 10 lakh rupees. That is actually a truth, but then there are certain other requirements and certain other terms and conditions. For example, you need to be a local, resident of Bihar state for that. But okay, do your own research on that. I just thought that I'll let you know about that information. Let's continue with our reasons. The next important factor about a flying club is its location. You wouldn't want to fly in a flying club which is located in a place wherein flying is stopped. Okay, flying training is stopped for months altogether because of its weather conditions. Okay, especially in the northern part of the country in winters, due to fog, flying training is stopped for months altogether. Also, there are certain locations wherein there are rains for months, and then wind conditions aren't favorable for flying training. And another important point here is that maybe you wouldn't want to fly in a remote location, in a flying club which is located at a remote location. Mostly when a flying club is located at a remote location, then it's mostly not controlled. It's an uncontrolled airport. What I mean by that is that it doesn't have a control tower, and basically one person from the flying club itself sits with an RT set acting as a radio controller. In such cases, usually you will not get the best quality of communication and RT skills in your flying training. Okay, to boil it down, in my personal view, if your city has a good flying club, then that is the best flying club location wise for you. The next point is aircraft maintenance. What is the quality of maintenance? How well the aircrafts are maintained? Because this is the life and death situation. Okay, you are talking about your safety. It's very important that you keep it in your head. I'm not trying to scare you, but just one important point that you should always consider in it. Trust me, there is one of my friend's friend, okay, who lost his life in an accident while he was doing his flying training. So I really hope that any such thing doesn't happen in the future, but okay, please keep that in your head and stay safe. The next important point about a flying club is obviously the quality of training, be it flying training or ground training. Talking about ground training, I personally don't recommend you to go ahead with the ground training of a flying club, because that's usually not the best. Instead, ground school outside is usually better. But still, if you aren't looking to go and spend in a lot of money outside, then you have to keep in your head that the quality of ground training in your flying club should be at par at least. Why is it so? Because ground training is very important, especially in a CPL vacancy. Once you complete your CPL, if you are going and sitting in a CPL vacancy, you will be judged and questioned, and the question paper will be coming mostly based on your CPL theory knowledge. Even if you were to sit in a type rated vacancy, still there will be a lot of questions based on the basic theoretical knowledge that you will learn in your flying school. And obviously the quality of your flying training is also important. I do admit that in your selection campaign and the airline, in most cases the quality of flying training that you received in most cases doesn't matter, but still you would want to give yourself a best chance to land a job, right? So in that case, you would want to receive the best quality of flying training, especially your instrument flying procedures should be at least at par. And apart from that, your multitasking skills in the cockpit, how you do and tackle maths problems, your fuel and distance and time problems while you are flying, and then how do you handle maps and charts. That is a very important factor, especially your approach plates. How do you read them? How do you do briefing of your approach plates, etc. So all these factors will be taught to you in your flight training, and you would want to receive a good flying training. Alright, till now we're done with 5 important points about a flying club and how you can decide for the best flying club, and there are 5 more coming. But if you're getting value and information out of this video, why don't you smash that like button and do subscribe to the channel if you haven't done already. Let's continue. Point number 6 on the list is facilities, and I'm not talking about food or accommodation or ambience facilities of a flying club, but instead I'm talking about facilities related to your flying training itself. Facilities like who owns the runway, who owns the airfield, and does the particular airfield has VOR or an ILS, because you will want to shoot VOR and ILS approaches and practice them in your flying training. And does the airport that your flying club is located at, does that have lighting for your night flying? Because if it doesn't, then your night flying will be very slow, because there are flying clubs that go to other airports for night flying, for example. And then does it have a control tower? I've already covered that point. So in my personal view, the best airport to be flying for your flying training regarding your facilities is Begumpet Airport, that is in Hyderabad, because it used to be international airport previously, and because there is a new international airport built up, the old airport is being used partially by the Air Force, and obviously there are 4 flying clubs flying out of there, and all of these points are more or less ticked. Okay, although flying clubs don't own this runway and it's owned by Airports Authority of India, but then this particular airstrip and this airport is dedicated mainly for flying training. Point number 7 on the list is availability of a CFI or Chief Flying Instructor, which basically is very similar to principal in a school, right? If there is no CFI, then absolutely not even a single flight can take off, not even one training flight can happen without the authorization of a CFI. The exception to that is if a CFI resigns, then from then on till 6 months, the deputy CFI can authorize the flights. That is only because so that the flying club can get another CFI. But other than that, this is also one of the best ways to identify if the flying club is fraudulent, right? If you go and ask who is the CFI in your flying club, and if they just go okay, fishy, then understand that that might be a fraudulent flying club. And trust me, there are such cases that had happened in the past. Number 8 on the list is false or fraudulent entries, and what I mean by that is that there are certain flying clubs who sadly do overlogging or underlogging. So overlogging is basically when you actually flew for 1 hour. After landing, you will be mentioning and logging in your logbooks that you flew for 1 hour 15 minutes, for example. Okay, flying clubs do this so that they can increase their profit, and students also agree to it, thinking that they can finish off with their flying faster, but that is absolutely illegal. I highly recommend you not to go that way, and even if you know of any such flying club, mention them down in the comments so that we can help others. And similarly, underlogging is the other way around. You fly for 1 hour and you mention that you actually flew for 45 minutes only. Okay, other thing is false solo entries. So in training flights, there are solo flights that requires sole occupant in the aircraft to be the trainee himself, and what flying clubs do is they throw in another person in the aircraft. They say it's for safety, etc. But I think that if a trainee pilot has been released for his solo, then he is absolutely capable of flying the aircraft all alone. And in such cases, please, if you know of a flying club that does this, please don't go over there. Number 9 on the list is approvals and validity. DGCA gives authorizations and approvals to these flying clubs. I'll be attaching the list of DGCA approved flying clubs down in the description. Go to that link and cross-check that flying club is mentioned in the list. You can always go and ask the flying club to show their approval. You should cross-check that it's actually valid. The validity isn't already expired, especially if the name of the flying club is fishy or not much known. In that case, it's also one of the best ways to recognize if it's a fraudulent flying club or not. And finally, the last 10th point here is miscellaneous, which is what is the quality of food and accommodation, especially in the case if you have decided on a flying club which is not in your city. In that case, it does matter a lot because obviously it's directly linked to your health, and obviously you know the fact that to be a pilot, to be able to fly aircrafts, you need to stay fit. So obviously make sure that there is good quality of food and accommodation, etc. Available at the flying club. This doesn't matter much because if at all the flying club doesn't have good quality accommodation, then you can go outside. But that's one of the points that I thought that you should think about before deciding on a flying club. Now that you know the different factors that you need to look for in a flying club to decide the best one, how do you know the information? Okay, like number of aircrafts in a flying club. For that, you can head over to DGCA website, the list of flying clubs with the number of aircrafts with their registrations also is available over there. If I find a link, I'll put that in the description. But how do you know the truth? Okay, like what are the number of aircraft that are actually operative? For that, the best way is to talk to a student who is currently flying in the flying club, and obviously the foolproof method to know the true information and obviously to decide the best flying club at your time is to enroll yourself in a ground class, a separate ground classes institution. That is what I suggested before as well. Why? Because you will be getting information and inputs from other students, other experiences. Somebody might had a fraud happened to him, for example. So these are the best, okay, the experiences and word of mouth from other students and instructors, for example. That's the best way to find the truth about a flying club. Now for the final reveal, which is the best flying club in India, and the answer to that is it depends upon what factor is most important to you. So if cost is the most important factor to you, Bihar Flying Club is what you might be looking at. If you want to do your flying very fast, then for example, Carver Aviation, which is located somewhere near Baramati, it has one 152 aircraft, 5 172s and one P-68C. I've heard that the flying over there is at a pretty decent pace. And then Chimes Aviation Academy has 9 single-engine 172 aircraft and then a total of 3 multi-engine aircrafts, which is a lot, okay. Usually flying clubs have only 1 multi-engine aircraft. So 2 DA-42s and 1 PA-34. So total 3 multi-engine aircrafts. Chimes also does your flying fast is what I have understood and known from my friends. And then IGRUA, that is Indira Gandhi Rashtriya Udan Academy, has 17 single-engine aircrafts, mostly DA-40s and then 2 DA-42s as well. But the downside of IGRUA is that it has got a comparatively more stringent selection process and eligibility criterias. You can look that up at their website. But if you want to do your flying fast, these are the ones that you want to look for. But don't forget that if you are opting for a cheap flying club, then it's not only you who wants to do your training in as less amount of money as possible. There are others as well, so the number of students will rise up. That will drastically reduce the pace at which your flying training happens. And then finally, the best airport to be flying training in India is Begumpet Airport in Hyderabad. It has a government flying club, Telangana State Aviation Academy, which is where I did my training from. And then apart from that, APFT and Wings Aviation Academy are privately owned that also operate from that same airport. That is the best airport to be flying from. These are all my personal inputs, and you have to decide for yourselves. Look at these different factors and decide the best flying club for you. Personally speaking, location was very important for me, and then facilities and the quality, etc. So I decided, obviously I'm from Hyderabad, that's why I decided the flying club that I mentioned. Okay, decide on yourself. And then another best way to make sure that you don't fall prey of any fraudulent activities or frauds, etc. Is to go in renowned flying clubs which are known for producing quality pilots and more number of pilots. That's these flying clubs that I mentioned: Telangana State Aviation Academy, APFT, IGRUA, Chimes, Carver, Bombay Flying Club. These flying clubs are genuine, and you can go ahead and do your training from these academies. So those were some of the best flying clubs in India and the different factors that can help you decide the best flying club according to you. Question of the day is, which is the best flying club in India according to you, and why is it so? Put them down in the description. They'll be very helpful for other people looking for the answer to this question. Well, that's it for this video. I hope that you liked the video and it was very informative. I know it was a little bit longer, but then I wanted to not leave any stone unturned. But still, yeah, I think that there was a lot of value and information in this video. If you also think so, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel and share it with your friends. I'll be coming up with some interesting videos and topics in the near future. Until then, take care and happy landings. Let's go.